What is up, everybody? Welcome back to racenews.com. Welcome back to another one of our previews. Let's go to Parx. Let's go to race 14 on the card. It is the biggest race of the weekend, the Pennsylvania Derby. Like I said, race 14 here. Let's get it up on the screen for you now. Field of 10 going to run in this one. Going a mile and eighth. It is a grade one event. Should be a ton of fun. This race has drawn very, very well this year, I feel like. So we're going to see what happens. This is a very interesting group. I will say that for sure. Uh, I know Baeza, at 2-1, going to be the favorite, and I know a horse that should take action, but he only has that one maiden win. Can he actually get that stakes win? I know he's been facing some of the better ones, but let's just go through them one by one. We'll kind of see at the end what we think. So the number one, So Sandy, to kick it off here. Cherie DeVos sends this horse in. Kendrick Carmouche will have the ride. This horse almost won the Curlin last time out. Now, the Curlin is a restricted race up at Saratoga. So it's not the toughest stakes race, but it is a, kind of quasi prep is how I would describe it for the Travers. And so Sandy almost got the job done at 13-1, finished second, only beaten ahead by Chancellor McPatrick that day. Before that race, won two in a row, won a maiden special weight at Horseshoe Indianapolis, and then an allowance optional claimer at Churchill Downs. The Curlin did not come back to do much strategic focus, ran in the Travers Stakes and was nowhere to be found. Chancellor McPatrick cut back and ran in the Allen Jerkins. He did not run very well either. So it's a pass for me on So Sandy. I don't think this horse is going to make much of an impact. Might play a little bit of part in the pace, though. Last three races, which definitely his best three races, he's been up towards the front. Hasn't been on the lead, but has been a length and a half off, and then was, I guess, on the lead in that maiden special weight win. So maybe gets up towards the front, maybe presses a couple of horses, but I don't think in the end will make much of an impact in the race. The number two is Alto Belly. Alto Belly coming in off of, just three not so good efforts in a row. Buyer speed figures aren't looking great for this horse either. Stepping way up in class. I'm not really sure what this horse is doing here. A horse that was decent in the claiming game, in the allowance optional claiming, or the starter allowance races, but moving up here seems crazy. So I think this one, if this one wins, it would be a complete shock. This next one is very interesting. The number three is Magnitude, a horse that had all the hype, right? After that win in the Risen Star and win in the Iowa Derby by 9 3/4 and 9 1/4. But last time out, he was done basically on the turn, the far turn. Just did not bring it at all. Gets beat 20 3/4 lengths by Sovereignty, and was defeated pretty badly, 10 3/4 lengths by Bracket Buster. So Travers was just a horrific effort. He kind of regressed back to what he was before the Risen Star in the Iowa Derby. There was a time where this horse looked very average when he was sixth in the Lecomte and second in the Gun Runner, and seventh in the Iroquois. Like, this horse really hadn't done much, but then the Risen Star in the Iowa Derby, he looked like a superstar. Obviously, he gets back those races, he's going to win. I'm going to err on the side of, I don't really think those last two races were quite him. I think he's kind of more of maybe a little step better than what we saw in the Travers. I think when he gets pressured, he's going to have trouble. And I think we're just up against a little bit better horses. He's not going to kick on quite as hard. I would not hate if you wheeled back with him in the spot. I'm just not going to do it. I think there's better horses to play in this one, but wouldn't be shocked. I do think there's going to be a lot of pace in the race here. And I think that's going to be, another thing that's going to be a big, kind of big factor that kind of hurts him in this spot. The number four is David of Athens. I thought this horse was kind of interesting. This is a horse that back last year in October at Keeneland broke his maiden and beat a horse named Camp Hale, who's decent, and a horse named, of course, Patch Adams, who's turned out to be very, very good. This was a horse that won that maiden race. He then came back in June of 2025, so a long layoff. Obviously, the horse had problems, was in an allowance race, and got sixth and beaten 2 1/4, and looked like a horse that needed a race. So I didn't quite write him off that day, but I thought, okay, he needed that one, and we'll move forward off that. He moved forward in a big way last time out. An allowance race at Ellis Park. He stretched out to a mile and he wins by 7.25 and earns his highest speed figure to date. So I think this horse, if you want kind of a longer shot that I do think is very logical, I think David at Athens makes sense. 12-1 on the morning line. And look, you definitely need to see him step up one more time, right? What the race he ran last time out at Ellis is not going to win this race. If he makes one more progression, he's kind of right there, and you're getting 12-1 on him. I kind of think he's interesting in this spot. So keep an eye on this one. Maybe play him underneath if you don't want to play him on top. And look, I'm not going to play him on top either, so I understand if you don't want to. But I do think he's an interesting horse here. Horse that showed a lot of talent on debut and is starting to maybe round up and show some talent here in his 3-year-old season. All right, the number 5 is Happily Delusional. I think you got to be a little delusional to play this horse. So maybe an aptly named horse here. 4th, beaten 10 3/4 in the Smarty Jones last time out. That's kind of the local prep race for this, even though nobody really comes from that race to this race this year, except for Happy Delusional. So didn't do a whole lot before either. Ran in the Peter Pan and was 7th, beaten 10 1/4. It's a throwout for me, no doubt about it. Interesting horse here, the number 6 as we go along here, Goal Oriented. Interesting, like I said, Bob Baffert obviously trains this horse, gets Irad to ride today. So Irad Ortiz Jr. will ride Flavian Pratt. Interesting. He had been on Baeza before. He had been on Goal Oriented before. You might think, hey, he's going to be on one of those two. He's not even here. He'll be at Belmont at the Big A. So interesting there. All right. As far as Goal Oriented go, a great maiden special weight win at Santa Anita. He stretched out to a mile and 16th allowance optional claimer on Kentucky Derby Day. That's the same race that I'm blanking for a second, that Mindframe won last year, and this year Goal Oriented won that race. Of course, Mindframe goes on to be a good horse. Goal Oriented has gone on to be okay as well. 4th in the Preakness, beaten 6 3/4, but you got to remember, and I'm sure you do remember, he kind of got, whether it was his fault or not, he got hit pretty hard in that race by journalism, and it kind of threw him off stride. He came back in the Haskell and ran very well, got 3rd, beaten 3/4 of a length, got beat by journalism and Gossker. But I think Goal Oriented is getting better. I don't think Bob Baffert ships him out here unless he feels like he's doing pretty well right now. So I think he's in with a big time shot. And the thing I really like about him, he can set the pace if you ask him. But in this situation, I don't really think that's what they're going to want to do because there is other speed. He rates pretty well off the speed. So I'm very interested in Goal Oriented here. I think he comes in with a big shot. I think Baffert sends him over here knowing that he's going to run a pretty good race. The number 7 is Big Truz. This is a horse that made me severely angry 2 races back in the Indiana Derby. He was stretching out to a mile and 16th for the first time, and I was pretty excited because, he had been running 2nd and 3rd behind Patch Adams, and I thought, okay, this is a good spot. He did no running whatsoever in the Indiana Derby. Just kind of looked like he didn't want to go 2 turns. So it's like, okay, well, I screwed that up. Last time out in the Ellis Park Derby going 1 mile, which is a 2-turn race at Ellis Park, he looked like I thought he would look in a Derby. He wins by 7 lengths. He received a 100 buyer speed figure. Now, the problem with the Ellis Park Derby, he really didn't face much in that field. So you do kind of look at it and go, well, was he just kind of crushing an easier field? I tend to lean towards that. I don't know, though. 10-1 is a good enough price if you want to take a chance with him. I think David of Athens and Big Truz, 2 horses that are priced well. If you're a player that likes to play a little bit of a longer price horses in these races, or even want to use them underneath, I think those are the 2 you need to look at. I really, really like this horse. I've always liked him a lot ever since he broke his maiden on debut at Keeneland. Again, he may come out and look like he did in the Indiana Derby, but at least you're getting 10-1 this time instead of 2-1, which is what we got in the Indiana Derby. So I think he's worth the risk at the price. Again, not a horse I'm going to pick to win, but if you're a longer price player, I think he's one that makes sense as well. Of course, this one does make sense. The number 8 Baeza. Do you want to take 2-1? Do you want to take what I think will probably be like more like 7-5? That's the question mark, right? Because this horse is 1-for-7 lifetime. Now, second only beaten a length to Sovereignty last time out in the Jim Dandy. Third, beaten 6.5 in the Belmont Stakes by Sovereignty and Journalism. Third, beaten a length and 3/4 in the Kentucky Derby by Sovereignty and Journalism. Second, beaten 3/4 of a length by Journalism. Listen, those races, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them at all. They're 4 straight losses, but he ran awfully well in all of them. He catches a field today that's getting better. I think Goal Oriented's better. Gossker, we're going to talk about him. I think he's getting better and better. I don't know. I don't think this is a slam dunk for him. I thought a couple months ago, even, it's like, yeah, that's probably circled the Pennsylvania Derby. That's probably where he needs to be. I don't know. I obviously on paper he's gonna look like the best horse from like a speed figure standpoint and even class standpoint as well. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's gonna happen here. I'm not gonna pick him to win the race. I don't really want to take him at a short price. I think I will use him in the I will use him in the pick fours and the pick fives. I'm not gonna pick him to win. So let's keep going. The number 9 is Gossker, and he's about convinced me that he's pretty darn good. I was skeptical of him going into the Preakness, and look, I don't think he ran. I know he almost won the Preakness. I think if Journalism gets a clean trip, he's going to lose by a couple links, honestly. So his Preakness was like, yeah, it was good, but I'm not convinced. I thought his Haskell was really excellent, and I really thought he was going to win the race. He gets beat a half length. He's another one he rated right behind the speed. He kind of gets into a head-to-head duel with Goal Oriented, and it looks like Goal Oriented's gonna beat Gossker, and then Gossker kind of just puts his head down and keeps going. He's able to kind of nudge past him, and then of course Journalism nudges past all of them at the wire. But look, I really like that race from Gossker. I'm kind of a believer for the first time coming into a race. And I did believe him in the Lexington Stakes when he won. I thought he would run okay there, but I didn't think much of that race, right? So yes, I thought he could compete at the grade 3 level, but as far as the Preakness, I didn't really think he'd do a whole lot. And the Haskell, I thought he could run like 3rd or 4th, but maybe not really threaten. And both those races really showed me that I'm kind of been wrong on him. So Gossker for me, I think he's going to be awfully tough in this race. If he's 4-1, I think that's a steal, to be quite honest. And then finally, the number 10 is Moplex. Moplex coming in for after running 4th in the Jim Dandy. Was really no kind of competition for Sovereignty, Baeza, and Hill Road. Ohio Derby, though, he looked great. He beat Chunk of Gold and McAfee. We've kind of learned, though, Chunk of Gold came back to win, and I think he is pretty decent, obviously. He's if Chunk of Gold doesn't win, he's usually right there. McAfee, he's not much. We know that. So I think he's a little cut below. So talking about Moplex, some of the horses we've been talking about here. I also think, the problem with Moplex, I think he's going to be close to the front, right? And that's good. That's usually a good thing. But I think I just see a lot of other speed signed on. Before I sign off of here, I will kind of go over. I think Magnitude goes to the front. I think David of Athens will. I think he kind of showed last time he prefers to be towards the front here. Goal Oriented will kind of be stocking the pace. Big Truz will kind of be up there stocking the pace. Baeza, Gosker's kind of going to be close, and Moplex. So I kind of want horses that have been effective stalking, and that's kind of more, the Goskers and the Goal Orienteds of the world. So I'm a little bit worried about Moplex in this spot. Look, I think he's earned a shot though, and I think he does have a shot. I'm not sure this is the race where he gets it done. And you're looking at for longer prices, I do prefer like a Big Truz or David of Athens over a Moplex in the spot. So this kind of gets. That's kind of just my thoughts on that. All right. Time to pick. I debated this one for a while. I'm not going to put Baeza on top. I like Baeza a lot. I really do. And again, if he wins this race, I'm certainly not going to, other than a win wager, I'm not going to lose, right? Because I'm going to have him and stuff. I don't think he's a horse you need to toss out of anything by any means whatsoever. I don't like taking a really short price on a horse that just has lost a lot of races. And I know this is a totally different situation, right? I do understand that, but I still think there are good enough horses in here to beat him. I'm going to go number 6, goal oriented on top here. I really like that Irad gets aboard. That's number 1 for me. I feel like that's a good sign. Baffert ships the horse over here. Baffert's been very, very good in the Pennsylvania Derby. I think those are good signs as well. I kind of, even though Gossker edged him last time out in the Haskell, I kind of think goal oriented. It seemed like he was going better, and he just maybe lost interest, or maybe he just didn't. I don't know. He just didn't finish up well enough. I think he's going to here. So I'm going to go number 6, goal oriented on top to win this year's version of the Pennsylvania Derby. All right, guys, hit that like button if you like the video. Hit subscribe if you really like it. Want to get alert anytime we do videos like this. And most importantly, good luck if you're betting Parx on Saturday.